See, today, if I were to ask you, what's the most religious part of the United States? You would say the South, probably, right? In Joseph Smith's era, the most religious part of the United States was the Northeast. So Joseph lives in an area of Western New York that non-Latter-day Saint historians have called the burned over district. And that basically meant it's this area where you've got all these new families moving in and all these families that are kind of in the process of transition. I mean, about a third of the state of Vermont moved to New York around the same time Joseph Smith's family did. So there's all these people in this new area and they're sort of uprooted and they're trying to find purpose. And this is really fertile ground for Presbyterians and Methodists and all kinds of religious denominations that come into the area. There's a lot of religious movements that are associated around this time with this particular part of the United States. And transition causes us to reevaluate and reassess the principles that we live our lives on. And it's not surprising that Joseph Smith and the early saints find a very receptive audience and start to grow really rapidly.
Nice to meet you, Chris Boyle.
I don't know why we kind of ended up here, because anyone knowing me growing up, you wouldn't have thought of me as a religious kind of sort of guy or anything, or owning a church or any of that. But somehow here we are. And we discovered that the Methodists were about to go out of business. And in the evenings, I'd sit across the street on the old Baptist steps and just stare at this church and think, it'd be awful for the wrong people to buy it. And it just didn't even seem logical or feasible, and we started a long process where we acquired it. Almost since I've been here, I felt like I have a mission here. I want to be an example and an ambassador and meet people and just be a good guy as a member of the church. Congregations, and not just here but everywhere, are shrinking. God-fearing Christians, whether you're LDS or not, we need to be united together.
I talk a lot in our congregation about being the hands and feet of Jesus in our place. And for us, I think that's sort of the heart of mission, is doing the things that Jesus taught us to do, loving our neighbor and serving our neighbor and feeding the hungry and clothing the people who need clothes. And we do all of that. And in doing that, it gets people onto our campus, it gets people into our building. The church population is declining, but I think there's ways to be creative, and there's some hope and some opportunity, a lot of opportunity in that. Like Jesus didn't do things on his own, right? He surrounded himself with at least 12 people. And so I think for me, like the strength and the excitement of being a follower of Jesus is that you do it in community.